All right, let me make sure that we're all unmuted this time
Okay.
so we don't have to redo the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, but that was fun. Do you guys like this shit? Look at this. Look at this. I tanned, except for
Ooh.
right here. It's just still pale on that part of my hair, and it pisses me off. It makes me feel like I'm wearing like foundation that didn't go all the way on my face now.
I like how
Turn
you.
your head again. Turn your head again. Oh God, that is.
Isn't that brutal?
Keep it. Okay, do it again.
Do
Get a
it,
picture
do
of
it.
this. Because that is like ridiculous. That is. I've never seen.
That
It's,
is a
Oh,
severe
it stands
fucking
out.
tan line.
So I
Yeah.
can't see it on this screen, but I can see it on this screen. Like the colors are just different enough.
Good. Yeah, it is. It is a drastic line in the sand, and I don't know what the hell I did.
All right. Let me change some stuff around here. All right. Let's get into it. Shall we? Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today we're going to talk about a film franchise that's been going for years and years and years and has no sight and end. We're talking about some Planet of the Apes, but because there are so many things to talk about with Planet of the Apes, we're going to not do one, but three films. We're going to talk about the original film starring Charlton Heston. We're going to talk about the remake of the original film starring Mark Wahlberg, directed by Tim Burton. And we're going to talk about Rise of the Planet of the Apes, starring James Franco and Andy Serkis. But before we get into all of that, we like to talk about things that we've watched in pop culture over the last week. We've all had busy weeks, so we didn't watch much. Devin, you were traveling though, correct?
I was.
Where'd you go?
Yeah. I went to Edinburgh first for a concert. It was Stardew Valley Orchestra. So if any of you are familiar with the Stardew Valley video game, they made a whole orchestra based on the songs of the video game. And I almost don't care how that sounds to anybody listening right now. It was incredible. It was incredible. And it wasn't just the fact that I've never played the game. I don't know the songs. Romana knew them all. That's great. It wasn't that I'm hearing video game music in real life and I'm a 34-year-old nerd. It's that the arrangements of these songs were actually really, really well done. I didn't have, again, no connection to these songs. They were so good. So then, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, that's great. I'm very happy for you because that does sound amazing. I didn't see it live, but I got the special edition Zelda Skyward Sword when that came out in like 2012 or 11. And it came with a recording of the Tokyo Symphony Orchestra playing all of the music from the game, plus some of the themes from like the N64 one and the original Zelda, and occasionally I'll play that while I'm driving.
Oh, it's so good.
Because
it's so good.
Because I mean, like, even though some of it can be based on like 8-bit music, it's generally good classical style music.
And that's exactly what this concert was.
Yeah, let's talk scores and music for a second, because this is my wheelhouse, guys.
It is.
I'm going to a concert like that in September, and I don't think we've talked about this on the show.
No, tell me.
Have I not told you who I'm going to go see in September?
No.
Hans Zimmer.
That's so cool.
So Hans Zimmer's on tour in the States, and I've been listening to his live albums for years. And as soon as I saw he was coming to the States, I was like, I'm buying tickets. And I went on the TikTok presale and bought tickets to see Hans Zimmer.
I'm so jealous. That's going to be so cool. Where are you seeing him?
Baltimore.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So,
but that was only day one of my travels. Then the rest of my travels is I went to Greece, and I was in Greece for a week. And
Greece is the word.
Oh, gross. I got to tell you, it was a couple of new things this trip. I had first off never been to Greece. I have also never been to an all-inclusive resort before.
Oh,
So that was also an interesting new thing that I got to
With all the
experience.
traveling you two have done, I'm very surprised at that.
The all-inclusive, the Greece thing.
The all-inclusive, because they're
Now,
everywhere.
we don't do that. Typically, what we'll do is we'll post ourselves up in like one of the cheaper hotels in the city, and then we'll spend all day literally just trekking our butts around that city to see all of the highlights, and then we'll leave exhausted. And that's how we travel.
did the all-inclusive resort have just a spa where they have a pool of tzatziki sauce?
Close. You know what I did do though? I did get a hot olive oil massage, and I got to tell you guys, I was so ready for the oven after that. I was so well seasoned.
I'm cooked,
But-
Jerry. I'm cooked.
No, it was really great. I mean, I'm one of those like weird Americans, right? That anything that's older than 200 years old blows my mind. So being in Greece and seeing like genuine remnants of Acropolises or Acropoli, and like seeing like the Ottoman Empire castles like that cropped up around them is
Yeah.
one of those people that likes to stare at the ocean. So, and then last thing, ask me how much Greek I know.
Devin, how much Greek do you know?
Nothing. Not a word. This is the first time I've ever been to another country. I didn't even try. I feel so bad about this. I like could have learned hello, good morning, good night. Nothing. Didn't even learn thank you. Just went, thanks.
I'm so disappointed in you that you didn't say, I don't know. It's all Greek to me.
I saw that
So.
pun at least 3 times. One of which was at the airport on the way home. They love it. That pun.
Yeah. I like the dressing.
No, it's true. It was a great trip. It was awesome. I feel well rested, as we talked about earlier. I am partially tanned, as we can tell by this line on my forehead. I'll just draw it to everyone. This line on my forehead. So yeah, it was great.
What happened to Ryan? He went full Macaulay Culkin, and then
What is full Macaulay Culkin?
he went, "Ah!" and then he disappeared. I don't know what
Like on
happened there.
purpose?
I don't know. I'm so concerned.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone genuinely
Okay,
make that face before.
he
Okay, all right.
will be back. We're just gonna leave
got it,
him.
okay.
We're gonna leave him in down there, just his profile picture.
Perfect.
So
But
let's talk. Yeah, go ahead.
How are things? How are you?
I think things are
This is
good.
Just a busy week.
The semester is over. I got all my grading done. I
saw the video that you posted to LinkedIn, by the way.
Yes.
It was really good.
I need to post that on Facebook.
You should.
So what I did was I had my students compete in a contest where they had to go out on campus during class and create a short video of just like a different point of view on campus. And I had them all like vlog their experience. And then I took
Yeah.
all the footage that they gave me and made this video for them to watch. And it
It's
was a lot
cool
of fun.
video.
It was a lot of fun to make, and I think they had fun doing it. So,
So hold on, are you in summer vacation now?
not yet. I have 10 more days of work.
Is
and
it like
then
work
summer
or is
vacation.
it like in service days? Where like
It's
I'm
like
assuming you
in
show up
service
and do
days.
nothing?
I have to. I went through today, and I have been in meetings all week. Free lunch every day this week, but
Wow,
tomorrow
work
is like
is hard, man.
tomorrow I have to actually start getting work done, and I was making a list today of everything that I need to do in 10 days, and it's doable. It's nothing too strenuous. So
This is the only time of the year I'm allowed to actually do this bit with you, because otherwise your job is incredibly hard all year.
Mhm.
And, like the only time I could be like, wow, it must be hard to be a teacher is like the lead up to and during summer vacation.
yeah.
Otherwise, I can't say a thing because your job is very hard.
I mean, I guess I was a teacher this semester, but yeah, it's been a long semester, and I'm ready for a break.
Yeah.
Which
bet.
I bought a Hershey Park pass for the summer.
Ah, that's so cool.
So if you're in town this summer and want to go to Hershey, I can drive and get free
Oh.
parking because I paid for
Yes,
it.
that's incredible. Are you going to be there every day?
We'll see.
Right back.
I might go for a week of just every day going to Hershey, because why not?
You're an adult. You can do
Yeah.
what you want now. There are no rules.
So let's talk
That
about
was a weird jump in the conversation. Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So let's get into Ryan. I moved your camera and then you moved on.
Sorry about that.
You're fine. You're fine. Let's get into Devin. You did watch something that I want to talk
did.
about. Tell me about John Mulaney presents Everybody's in L.A.
Okay, so how much do you guys know about this before I dive into it?
I know that it was a live stream comedy show that they did as part of Netflix's A Joke comedy festival in LA. I know it was live. I know it was last week. I saw some clips. I didn't watch it.
Okay, so I actually watched a few episodes of it today. First off, it's really interesting seeing Netflix live stream. I think that they did something similar to this with the guy from Community, the tall one.
Joel McHale?
Joel McHale had a show on Netflix that was something similar to this. I don't think it was as live as this, because this is like he starts every episode by going, "This is live. There is no delay. It is currently 7:02 in Los Angeles right now." Like, just so you can like time check that it is what it is. It is essentially a talk show, but each episode focuses very, very loosely on a different part of life in LA. And that's kind of what drew me to it more than the live thing. The other thing that drew me to it was the cast. So I don't know if you guys have heard about the cast, but the cast for this is incredible. So John Mulaney's the host. Richard Kind is the announcer. But then they have, because Netflix is a joke. Yeah.
You had me at Richard Kind as the announcer.
Isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
I love seeing him in anything. But aside from that, they have a litany of stars because everyone's in town for the Netflix is a Joke Fest doing this. So they have people like, David Letterman, Lucy Jones, Cedric the Entertainer, Bill Hader, Kevin Gage, Pete Davidson, Brian Grazer, Jerry Seinfeld, Will Ferrell, Andy Samberg, Patton Oswalt, Fred Armisen, Sarah Silverman, Chelsea Peretti, John Carpenter, Nick Kroll, Tom Segura, Jon Stewart, Ray J, Mike Birbiglia, and a lot more. Jimmy Kimmel's on it because of course he is. It's in LA. Like, the cast. Oh, Dan Levy's on it. The cast is incredible, is what I'm saying. And they just keep cycling in and out these cast members, and it's just so much fun. Like, it has this insane energy where, like, you can tell they're not making it up on the fly, but they're also not making it up on the fly.
Yeah.
And if you guys ever want a good comparison to what the energy feels like, but don't want to watch John Mulaney and for some reason want to listen to my voice, a couple years ago I did this podcast called, it's now called Stories with My Grandma, and it was with somebody that I did comedy with out in LA. I was a guest for one episode, and he came to me with, "Hey, I love and watch your show. Can you do a review with me of Rocky #1?" And I'm like, of course I can. So I watched the first Rocky movie, took a page of notes, got on the call. We talked about Rocky for maybe 2 seconds, but then we called his grandma. Then we called the creators of Rick and Morty because he had their phone number for some reason, and just kept leaving voicemails for all of those people until anyone picked up. His grandma picked up, and then he just had me react to stories his grandma told him. And I think he only cut that bit out and put that bit on the internet. But that's the same kind of energy that you can expect from this John Mulaney thing, where, like, they're just doing a lot, and it is a weird, frantic energy, and I'm here for it.
I find it funny that Netflix has gone from physical media to streaming and replaced a lot of people replaced cable with Netflix. They can just go in and select what episode they want. And now we're coming back full circle, and Netflix is just, we're live with all of this stuff because they just announced today that the NFL games on Christmas Day will be exclusively on Netflix.
Ryan, do you have a feeling about that? Because I just had a bad feeling about that.
It's what it is. The sports entertainment industry, the networks are starting to fail. They already have in the MLB. The MLB itself has had to come in and save some sport networks already. Wow. So I'm not surprised at this at all. And we could do a whole podcast on it. But I'll just say that I'm not surprised, and it's the NFL is going to land somewhere on someone's doorstep.
Yeah.
So.
But the sports networks were the first to become 3D TV compatible. I don't get how they're failing.
What do you mean they were the first to what?
become 3D TV compatible?
Yeah, because they spent their money on dumb crap like that.
I don't understand.
Well, okay, so the sport channels, the reason why you spend so much money on cable is to support network like channels that some people want, and sports is one of them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And they're failing. So
Yeah. That's really interesting. The future's weird, guys.
It is. Speaking of the future, let's talk about something from the past. We're going to get into today's main topic, starting off with the 1968 film Planet of the Apes, starring Charlton Heston. Now, before we get into this, I need to everyone out there to know we will be spoiling the ending of Planet of the Apes. Now, they have done that themselves with the franchise, but the first question I'm going to ask you guys now is, did you know the ending of this before you saw this? Actually, no. First question is this the first time you guys have seen this Planet of the Apes?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay. When you guys watched Planet of the Apes for the first time, did you know the ending?
Absolutely
I
not.
was 8, so
Okay.
I was also
7 or
8.
so no.
Yeah, 8
Okay.
was a good year to watch this movie.
Okay.
Did you know it, Alan?
No, I did not.
When was the first time you watched it?
After I saw the remake.
Ah!
After I saw the Mark Wahlberg one. Yeah, Ryan, you go ahead and judge me for that. I can feel your hatred.
Actually, no.
It's
There's
fueling
none.
me. Judgment. It was something.
Something.
Nothing. To be honest.
So this film stars Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowell, Kim Hunter, and Maurice Evans. It is written by Rod Serling. You guys know who Rod Serling is?
That name sounds so familiar to me.
It's a rod made out of sterling silver.
Ooh. What
No.
if it was? No, it is.
He was behind. He created a TV show called The Twilight Zone.
Holy cow, that makes so much sense.
Doesn't it?
Holy
He's the
cow.
one that got Captain Kirk to get his face sucked out a window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to
man.
look at this Planet of the Apes as a giant episode of The Twilight Zone.
Oh. That just clicked in place for me too. I like
Yeah.
that.
It fits very well because you have the sci-fi setup and story, and then you have that ending. Like the ending is what gets it. So what do you guys think of the original Planet of the Apes? What are your thoughts on the film watching it in 2024?
Ryan, go.
I have always enjoyed this movie. It is a movie that I consider part of cinema history. And I probably like it too much, to be perfectly honest. Watching this movie is like watching like a time capsule being opened every single time because of the dated effects, the acting styles, like everything about it just is just of its time, and I enjoy it. I mean, there's a few moments where I'm like, yeah, this is aged by 60 years, got it, but it's also a movie that's like that's that old, so it's a give and take.
Devin, how about you?
I hadn't seen this movie since I was 8, so it's been years and years since I've seen this movie. I watched the Mark Wahlberg one first, which is important because watching this one straight after it feels like a breath of fresh air. Not to spoil how I feel about the Mark Wahlberg one, but I love this movie. I'm with Ryan, where some of the effects certainly feel a bit dated. The apes themselves look a lot better than I remembered. There's this really funny Gilbert Gottfried bit where he does an impression of Planet of the Apes with these 2 dinner trays and opening them up like they're the apes' mouths and you can see the human mouths underneath. I'm not doing the bit justice. It's very funny.
Yeah.
But it's not that bad. The stuff actually kind of holds up, the costuming,
Yeah.
a lot better than I thought it did. But it does everything that Dune does, I think. It gives great commentary on what it means to be a human. It gives great commentary on the power of religion and how that affects science. in a way that I don't think the Planet of the Apes series quite manages to grasp any point in the future of the series. Other ones notwithstanding.
Yeah, it does. There is a lot more to it than, hey, it's just like humans and apes have switched spots. Like,
Yeah,
it's a lot more to it with the science and religion stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
when you keep going with the franchise and you get into Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and I'm not going to talk about other ones, but and then you get into like the nuclear side of things and what,
yeah.
like, all of that stuff. Yeah, this one's like, this is a classic. This was fun to watch on my big screen projector.
That is
The
cool.
like it's fun watching this, knowing what the ending is, because there are little hints about things that they say, and knowing what that ending is, like you can pick up on it earlier on. Like, okay, they're talking about a civilization that lived here millennia ago. Like, what did that look like? And then you see the doll, and it's like, oh, maybe it was Earth, maybe it was humans.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. And then that ending where you just see the back of the Statue of Liberty's head, and you got Charlton Heston there. Ah, you bastards! You blew it up. Like, it's classic.
It is. And it's what really struck me about this was Charlton Heston's character,
Mhm.
because he's such a presence. Like, he, like, from the beginning, he is this like surly, like, scientist guy. But the thing I found most striking about it was he talks about how what drives him is he wants to find something greater than human. Like, that's his motivation.
Yeah.
And look at where he ends up, and how does he answer that question by the end of it. And I love that. Like, that is a cool arc that I don't see any more past this movie.
Yeah, so one of the takeaways that I get from that is that it shows that even the most cynical of person, even about like the human race, which is what this movie, it's replace apes with humans. Um, he's so cynical about like modern society and like what it is to be a human and what humans have done and everything, that like he scoffs at the idea of like, like the idea of nationhood. He scoffs at the idea of like the other guy that was with him about, like wanting to be a hero and, doing it for honor. And he completely throws all that away. And so at the end, you would fully expect that someone like that, with a movie that was made when it was, would assume that we were going to blow ourselves up. And even though he's one of those people, he sees that it actually happened. Even he is upset that it actually happened. Like, he was expecting it to, and he was still disappointed when it actually happened. And that's one of the best parts about his character for me, is that like he's the ultimate cynic, but he was still upset. Like, he was still disappointed.
Yeah, he's a good character to follow.
Have you guys watched the franchise from this point on? Like, have you watched the sequel and the made-for-TV movies?
It's been forever, but I've seen them.
It's the same. I couldn't tell you a single plot point of any of them, but I know that I've seen them because I did movie nights with my dad.
Yeah. I know I watched them, and they get weirder and weirder.
Do they?
Yeah. So, like, the next one's on the Planet of the Apes, and then the third one, I think they time travel back, and then they give birth to who becomes Caesar, and then it's like what the franchise became like recently, which we'll talk about later. But there's like a split in the timeline, and we'll talk about later on. So, yeah, this one's a classic, and like you do with classics, or like Hollywood likes to do with classics, it's been spoiled in the marketing. Like, the marketing is just, hey, Statue of Liberty on the side of a beach.
It's on the cover. Yeah.
But beyond that, the other thing that Hollywood likes to do with classics is remake them. So in 2001, Tim Burton was tasked with remaking Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg and Tim Roth as the leads. Have you guys seen this Planet of the Apes before?
Yes.
I also have, yeah. In fact, I had a T-shirt that I wore all the time when I was in, I think it was 7th grade, whichever grade we had the trailers outside. Uh,
Hmm.
very specific memory,
Yes,
and
that
it
was that would have been
had,
seventh for you. Yeah.
yeah, it had the main ape on it, looking very angry, and I remember loving that T-shirt. Had you seen it before now?
I had. This was my
Oh
introduction to
boy.
the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Oh no, Alan!
Yeah. Um,
Oh, shoot.
yeah. So I had seen this before, so I knew, like, I think part of me knew, like, the Statue of Liberty plays a part in the franchise, because when they get to the ship in this one, I was like, is that supposed to be the Statue of Liberty? Like, I'm so confused on what's going on. Um, so I'm going to say a positive thing about this film. And that's, I like the makeup in this. Like, if nothing else, this one does a great job with the prosthetics for the apes, for the creatures.
Oh, agreed. I think it holds up. Do you not agree, Ryan?
I feel that people get upset when they get exactly what they want out of a remake,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
like, "No, we don't." What you wanted. I love this movie. I like it. I've watched it more than I watched the original because
Wow.
it's shorter. Set like it's Tim Burton,
Yeah.
and this movie oozes Tim Burton, and I
Mm.
like Tim Burton. The effects are amazing. They do what the classic movie did because it is cinema history. I feel like if you're going to do like a remake or a reboot, you should stick to some certain aspects of the original one. And one of that is the makeup and how revolutionary the makeup was for the original movie. Like those actors could eat in that makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And they just went it forward and be like, okay, it's 2001. It's been 30, 40 years. Let's do what we can now. And it's just, I can't put a finger on it, but there's just the corniness of the movie makes it, because even the original one's corny a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
No,
And yeah,
this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Going back to revisit it for this, because I think the world building that they do, like, it makes sense that like you start messing with wormholes. The ship goes in first and crashes, and then that's like all the apes from that become the apes on the planet, and the
Yeah.
humans kind of fade out. Can still talk and all of that. Where this movie loses me, and I think loses a lot of people, is that ending, because it makes no sense at all. Can either of you explain to me the Abraham Lincoln ending?
I think I got it. I think I got it
Okay.
because this is Romana's first time watching it as well, and she was like, "What happened here?" So, this is what I think. I think that what happened on that planet, or what happened, like he goes through a wormhole. What happened on the planet happened, and because I think his name is Thade,
Mm-hmm.
because Thade gets that gun, right? And he starts shooting himself and ricochets and kills himself with it. Because Thade gets that gun, that is the kickstart to this planet's eventual evolution into modern technology. I think that what happened is Mark Wahlberg left and didn't actually go through another wormhole back home. He went through a time jump to the same planet and just came back a couple of 100 years in the future to where their technology had advanced to the point where they have a statue of Thade like Abraham Lincoln, because in lazy alternate universe writing, basically you end up in the same place as America anyway. So from that point that Mark Wahlberg fought Thade on, they basically then like founded America and democracy and guns and cop cars and the Abraham Lincoln statue, and that's where he ended up afterwards. It was like a future version of that same planet. That's what I ended on.
Okay.
Was that your guys' take?
kind of lost you in that. I'm sorry.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I spent a long time like.
To be fair,
Cafe Sylvia
I'm
stringing
pretty
this
sure
together.
Tim Burton made the movie. I'm pretty sure he would have been lost in that too. That's kind of what I suspect it was the intention there, but there's
Yeah.
no evidence for it. Like at least in the original film, there are a little bit of hints of there was this other society, and like it feels like the Abraham Lincoln thing is just like, hey, it's a twist to be a twist. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember thinking back then when I first saw this twist at the end, just like I thought now, boy, am I glad they didn't do a sequel set in basically the early 2000s but run by apes. I don't want to see that.
Watching it now, I wonder if the sequel was supposed to explain the twist ending.
Was there actually supposed to be one?
I mean, that's what I was always assuming as a kid. Like when I saw this when I was like 17, I figured there was going to be a sequel. But then everyone hated it. And I was kind of left there in my friends group going, but it's not, have you guys seen the original? It's not bad, and it's just as corny as you know the first one is. Like, and I really think that's what it is. Because I mean, it's weird because like he goes through those wormholes and he ends up on a planet with 3 moons. So obviously that's not Earth. Like, so that's not Earth. And then he goes through it again, and I've always kind of chopped it up to, well, they did time travel through a wormhole, so maybe this is a different dimension.
Yeah.
And maybe a sequel might have explained that better. I mean, but if you take that away, it's a decent early 2000s sci-fi movie.
You just get the ending where he just like, and now I'm going off in my spaceship, and that's where the movie ends. And then it's a bit better.
It's a bit better.
The Poochie ending, that's what I was thinking of. Poochie from The Simpsons.
Poochie ending, yes.
Yeah.
I must
think
go
there's a
now.
difference. I think it's a difference between corn, though. So there is something to do with 60s sci-fi corniness that is very distinctly different from early 2000s corniness in a way that, like, the original Hulk or the original Wonder Woman is differently corny than Ben Affleck's Daredevil. And they're both corny.
I think it's different, though, because I think we're looking back at it and we're seeing corniness that wasn't necessarily corny when it was made. We're seeing corniness as in it's 20, 30 years removed. And there's things in this movie that aren't really done anymore. And so it seems, there are certain aspects of it that are corny to us that didn't mean to be corny then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
absolutely. And it's going to be the same thing with the movies made today. In 50 years, people are going to look back and be like, man, that American, that Captain America movie was just corny as hell.
Cheese.
Like that's what's going to happen. And I think that's what it is. We go back and we watch these things like Planet of the Apes, and it's like, man, the way the main character laughs at the American flag, that was ridiculous. That was the corniest thing. But that was supposed to be like a sarcastic, serious laugh, not corny. But to us, it's corny.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because we didn't live through the 60s and we lived through the early 2000s and it hasn't been long enough to loop back around in nostalgia yet? Because I almost just regret thinking that like something like Daredevil was super, super cool and super edgy watching it now and going, what version of Devin thought this was great? Is it that?
I think that's probably part of it, but the Ben Affleck Daredevil is not as bad as you think it is. Like I at least watched the director's cut recently, so it's not. It holds up a little bit better than you'd think.
Okay, because I remember loving that movie.
And besides, if you loved it once, just watch it again and just be like, okay, just dump your cynical mind and just be like, okay, it's 12-year-old me loved this movie, and then just try to refine those reasons.
Did you just tell Devin to not be cynical?
Yes, I did. Because here's the thing: at some point he wasn't. Because if he didn't like that movie, then he wasn't as cynical as he is now. So he needs to just reconnect to like that one aspect of it. Like maybe it was the music, maybe it was the action, maybe it was the way that the lighting in the movie was. You just got to refine that.
Yeah.
It's the Evanescence soundtrack when they cut to Matt Murdock and it's the guy singing "Bring Me to Life," and he's like, "All this time I couldn't believe I couldn't see." Like
And then
that's
they
an
cut to the
actual,
blind guy.
yeah, that's an actual moment in the film.
And
Yeah,
one thing about this one though is that Paul Giamatti, his character steals this movie for me.
Oh, he's incredible.
Like just being the like human traitor.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
And just he's basically playing a Ferengi in it because he's constantly trying to find a way to earn a profit somehow throughout everything that he does. And this movie has a ton of great people in it.
yeah. I just like, yeah, I just remembered something that I forgot to bring to We Watch This that I will have to save for next week.
Oh,
Unless you guys want me to talk about it now.
just what is it?
I saw Phantom Menace in theaters.
What?
On
How
May
was
the
it?
It was a re-release.
They re-released it for
Oh.
May the 4th. It was good. Like
Yeah.
when you said Ferengi, I was like, what? I don't know why, but Watu popped in my head. I was like, oh yeah, I saw episode 1.
He's a Ferengi. He's a
Yeah,
Ferengi.
he much is. Hey, you got? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the voice.
That's what I wanted.
That's a bomb bad idea.
God.
But yeah. Anything else on 2001 Planet of the Apes?
No, I mean I agree with Ryan. Is that Paul Giamatti steals it, and
Yeah.
like the second he's on screen, you're like, that's him. That's him in a monkey thing. He's so good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How
It's
was Mark
underrated,
Wahlberg in
in
this
my
for you
opinion.
guys?
I don't like Mark Wahlberg.
I know he's an actor that people have really strong opinions on. I think he does a fine job of being a blank slate of a character for you to put your emotions on, and for always having his kind of moral compass strongly pointing north. That's just, I think, what he is in this movie. I think it's fine. I think the problems I have are the writing and not necessarily him.
Yeah. I think everyone who plays an ape in this does a great job.
Yeah.
The humans leave you wanting.
I spent most of the time staring directly into Chris Christopherson's eyes and going, is that the guy that played the dude in Big Lebowski? It wasn't. Super
Yeah.
wasn't.
All right. So let's talk about the reboot. The reboot to the franchise from 2011, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, starring James Franco and Andy Serkis. Had you guys seen this one before?
No.
I actively stayed away from it.
Okay. All right. So I'm excited to talk about this then. This is the story of how the Planet of the Apes came to be. This is the start of a trilogy, which they are doing a second trilogy now that takes place 300 years after the events of these films. That's where Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes takes place. But this is the story of Caesar and his adoptive dad, played by James Franco, who is a scientist researching Alzheimer's cures and treatments, and develops this treatment in an ape, and the ape gives birth to Caesar, and Caesar has advanced intelligence and all of this stuff. The biggest difference between this film and the other films in the franchise is it's not makeup, it's motion capture. It's what Andy Serkis does. He, of course, was Gollum, King Kong. The same technology that they use for Jar Jar Binks, they use for the apes in this. So I'm curious. I saw this back when it came out on DVD. I didn't see this in theaters, but I saw this on DVD. I remember the first clip of this that I saw. The first teaser that they released on I think like Twitter was just a clip of Caesar in his cell and his eyes moving. And I was like, oh, that looks good. Like a Planet of the Apes movie like that. I'm like, you could tell just from that one clip, it's like, oh, he's going to actually be a character. It's not just going to be an ape. Like Andy Serkis is doing something here. Let the man cook. So I'm curious, what did you guys think of this film? Ryan, you said you've been avoiding it for over 10 years now. What did you think?
The computer graphics that they overlaid Andy Serkis, CGI, was still not good enough, in my opinion, for what they were trying to do.
Okay.
They should have waited another 5 years at least. Because my favorite parts of the movie had to deal with the monkeys only. And it was really compelling, really good stuff. Unfortunately, I kept on thinking that I was watching PS3 like storyboard graphics than an actual like major motion picture movie. So I'm sure Andy Serkis did a great job. I'm sure everyone else did a great job. Even when this movie came out, I was not impressed with the effects. And again, like I said before about the last ones, the original Planet of the Apes, it was makeup.
Yeah.
They were wearing makeup. And I understand that this is like, there's still monkeys in this movie, so I get it. And the last thing I would want is to have a bunch of possibly abused, trained monkeys being used on the film set. I get it. And that's why I said they should have waited 5 years.
Okay.
The only part of the actual, well, we'll get into that later.
Okay.
But yeah, that's, yeah.
Devin, what did you think?
I loved it. I thought this was incredible. I was really surprised by it almost consistently because I didn't expect to connect to Caesar so incredibly well. And the movie actually had me at the very, very second they called Caesar's mom Bright Eyes. And I went, that is a really good callback.
Yeah.
Well done movie. And I went, okay, you have my attention. And I liked it. I know that I have a hard time watching James Franco lately, just with everything that's come out with him. Despite it all, I think he does a great job. I kind of agree with Ryan a little bit that the graphics aren't good, and specifically because I was so into this movie, I immediately turned on the next one in the series.
Okay.
And the next one in the series starts with a massive hunt in the woods with all of the monkeys hunting deer, and I think it looks worse than this does.
Oh,
and maybe
really?
it's just that scene because it's so CG heavy, but it actually kind of turned me off of it, and I didn't keep watching. Not just because of that. I also had time things, and I was watching John Mulaney and all that stuff. But
so, my thing with the graphics is like it's never gonna be photorealistic.
right, I mean, even the Lion King stuff isn't photorealistic.
Yeah,
That's closer to what they're going for.
There's always gonna be that uncanny valley stuff. For me, seeing Caesar as a computer-generated character works for me because
I know about a number of fictional characters, including
computer stop. I'm like oh, because I said okay, I can't say that word because it activates it. Seeing a CG generated character over a performance like that, like seeing what he does with the performance is what sold me on this film. I think he does a great job as Caesar. You get to see those emotions. Like that was the innovative part. Like how much emotion and how much character comes through the performance for this. Like,
yeah,
that's what sold me on it. There's you talked about callbacks with Bright Eyes. There's one callback in here that I wanted. Like the main reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this movie is. There's a moment in here that could, like, on paper, like when you see they're rebooting Planet of the Apes, and you know they're gonna do the line, "Get your damn hands off me, you damn dirty ape." You know they're gonna do that, and you're like,
yeah,
you're waiting for it. Draco Malfoy is gonna say it. It's gonna be the worst part of the movie because like, ugh. And you get to that point, and Draco Malfoy says the line. You're like, ugh. But then. Immediately the best moment of the film where Caesar just yells no, and it still gives me chills. Like that scene, and they talk about that moment in the Planet of the Apes down the line, like in the old films. Like there was an ape named Caesar who stood up to humans and said no, and that's that moment. Like that's what's in their books, their scrolls. Like that's the moment, and like that moment alone is like, oh, they're doing something different with this franchise. Like this is a different way of going about it. That's the moment that I was like, I want to make you guys watch this just for that. And I don't think we couldn't do that moment justice without watching the other two films. So
is this is this not another reboot? Is this like the lead up to the Charlton Heston stuff?
Yes.
So like, yeah, it's still the same timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a shot of a TV in here where you see a space shuttle taking off.
Mm-hmm.
That's Taylor.
Oh.
That's them
Oh,
going
no
off on the
shit.
mission.
Oh, I missed that. That's cool.
And then later on, there's a shot about how it goes missing.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, yeah.
That's really cool.
So the way timeline wise, this is how it works. Charlton Heston lands, meets the apes, and they travel back in time and start a new timeline. So then they give birth to a Caesar and all of that. So that's their Caesar. That's that timeline. This is the original timeline of how we got to the Planet of the Apes.
That's pretty cool.
I will say this is the weakest of the franchise for me in this trilogy.
What?
Like story wise, Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes are very good. They're both directed by Matt Reeves, who did the Batman in Cloverfield. They dive more into Caesar, like Caesar's in all three of them. This one's still solid. Like, this is still a solid film, but there are moments in this that are my favorite, but I think the other two are stronger films. So don't let the CGI of the opening scene. I had them ready to go. I must put them in last night after this one. But did you guys watch the post-credit scene?
Son of a.
As soon as it was over, I turned it off.
Oh.
What was it?
Okay. So you know how the neighbor got sneezed on
Yeah.
by the guy who dies.
Uh-huh.
So after the credits start, like, it's not even that far post-credit scene. You see the pilot going to work, going to the airport, getting on a plane, and his nose starts to bleed. So then they show his plane. They show him that he's sick. He has this flu. So then the post-credit scene is just a traveling dot that shows where he goes and then where this virus spreads.
Oh, man.
Because he's patient zero for the simian flu virus that leads to humans devolving to the
crazy.
point. Yeah, it's chilling to watch. Like, I highly recommend. But if you're gonna go watch the next films, you have to watch that first. And that's my bad for not telling you guys to stay tuned into the credits, because it's like not far, but it's just enough that you guys need to see that. So
I watched enough of the credits for the Disney, so it's on Disney Plus for me, for Disney Plus to recommend the sequel, and we go, okay. And that's as far into the credits as I got.
As soon as it recommended the sequel for me, I turned it off because I was like, no.
okay.
Will you watch the sequel, Ryan?
No. So
No?
it's not just the CGI.
Okay.
When it started up, and it was James Franco trying to find a cure to help his grandfather,
Mhm.
I said audible out loud. I was like, this is the Deep Blue Sea. Because in Deep Blue Sea, they're trying to do the same thing, but with sharks.
Oh, yeah.
And they genetically amplify the shark's brain and make it more intelligent for it to pass the animal trials so they could bring it to human trials. So the first half of the movie, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, this is...
I've seen this movie.
I've seen this movie. And then the neighbor comes up, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I know that the neighbor is supposed to be an agitating person, but if there's an old man in a robe who looks confused, that's trying to quote unquote steal your Mustang, like, I'm sorry, but
I'd be mad.
you can lose a finger. If you're not that aware of just being able to fill in context clues of like an old man in his robe and his underwear who is like looks confused about why you're yelling at him and he's not trying to run away after supposedly trying to steal your car, it's not what you originally thought it is. You need to calm down. Like, people can say all you want, well, you're not in that position. Like, I'm sorry, but if I see an old guy in boxers and a short and in a robe trying to get into my car, I'm not going to automatically think that he's stealing it. And I couldn't get around that.
Yeah. Here's my thing. Like, You have a sports car like that. Why do you just leave the keys in there? And
Well,
He's also an idiot. I mean, he's like, yeah. So there's that too. The only thing in this movie towards the end that I'll give it that it had potential is the fact that instead of it being war, that's the downfall of humanity. It's a company out of greed pushing a potential drug out too fast. I like that, and like I said, I liked I liked everything that had to do with the monkeys itself. It was the look of it that I was like about, and what turned me off originally in the trailer for this movie was the scene of the monkeys fighting the cops on the bridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That to me was just it's I get what they're trying to do. It's too much.
Ryan, I'm going to recommend that you watch the next one because I feel like the things that you like about this, they improve on in the next one. It's a lot more apes. There's a lot less humans. Like there's still humans in it. Gary Oldman's in the next one.
Because I was really wanting to come on here and waiting for a moment where I could say I'd rather have food poisoning than watch this movie again.
Yeah. I think you should give the next one a shot.
Okay.
Because
I'll put Taco Bell to the side.
It does a lot more with the apes, and the third one does too. It dives more and more into the apes as humanity starts to lose control of everything. So,
yeah,
I think it does. The thing that I liked was I think it does show largely that humans in this version of the world are pretty cruel. Like there aren't too many good humans. Like even James Franco isn't really a good human. He's kind of not great and kind of selfish. And like most other characters are pretty despicable. Like what's his name? Tom Felton? His character's awful. Like who in the world is like, I'm gonna impress this girl. Let me go abuse some monkeys. Like that's not flirting. That's not attractive or appealing at all. I hate that.
You also have that bubble where it's just the only person that cared remotely about him was Franco.
Yeah.
And he really tried, but he couldn't, just the way that everything was set up. Like he couldn't keep him, Caesar was taken away from him and he was put into that like was put into that sanctuary, and it was like the neighbor and the hand at the center. Both of them were just like, I get it, humans are bad. Like we don't need to turn them up to 11. I got it.
Too much for you.
Yeah, like it was just one of those things where it's like, I've seen the original enough that like I really like it and I get the themes. I like the remake and I get the themes of the remake and how it's supposed, and how it relates to the original. And then you get to this one, it's like, okay, I get it. Can we move along? We don't need to be this severe. Like, I get it. And I think that was part of my problem.
That's fair.
I think part of what's great about this franchise is it opens up the world of motion capture a little bit more to performances. Like it's not just I'm gonna just be a monkey. Like Caesar is a character. Like Caesar, throughout these three films has an arc, and
I am glad that it moved that stuff forward, that it made it better, that Andy Serkis was able to show what could be done with it in this movie. I really am, because especially the scene where he's on the leash in the park and he sees the dog, and that whole scene with him in the backseat of the car, that was great because you actually saw real human, like Homo sapien facial expressions on him that like you normally wouldn't see on a chimp. And like that was great. It's just I couldn't help but like the Smurfs and Garfield and all these other movies with like cartoon animated characters alongside in live action, and I can't pull them apart. I can't pull them apart.
So I've got a pop quiz question for you guys.
Ooh.
What is the common thread between all three of these films? There's something that each film, not only of these three, but in the Planet of the Apes franchise, there's a common thread that happens in each of them. Do you know what it is?
Humans suck.
It has to do with humans. It has to do with humans.
A human kissing a monkey.
No.
The non-verbal thing.
No. In each film, the main human does not play a big part in the next one. Like, they're there for one film and that's it.
Okay.
Really?
I thought you were.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that. Okay.
Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston is in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, but it's like more of a glorified cameo. Franco's not in the next one. The humans from Dawn are not in War. They're mentioned in the deleted scene, but yeah, they kind of. And then Mark Wahlberg just got one film, so yeah, like that's just a common thread. Like the humans are replaced. Like
Wow.
they just move on.
Just are replaceable.
Yeah. There are references to James Franco in the next one, but like Caesar goes back to the
okay.
house or something. But
How far along is the jump between this one and the next one?
I think 10 years or so.
Oh, well, so I mean, probably Franco was like the next person to get sick and die from that virus, right? Like just logically
Well, I mean,
speaking,
not
if everyone's getting
necessarily.
it-
I mean, not necessarily, because the landlady or his neighbor that found that tech in bed, she was probably the one to die after the pilot did. And then everyone either on the plane or that was around
Right.
that pilot when he was going to the airport. I wouldn't be surprised if Franco was in like a refugee camp somewhere when he finally got it.
So there was a deleted scene where Franco dies in the redwood forest taking a bullet for Caesar.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But when the plane does land in New York, you see several dots go out from it. So the people on the plane do get it and spread it. So,
Oof.
so this was our triple feature. I did give you guys extra homework because there's something else Planet of the Apes related that I wanted to talk about. Because
I love legitimate theater.
Planet of the Apes the musical on the Simpsons season 7 episode 19, A Fish Called Selma. Troy McClure is cast in Planet of the Apes the musical. Have you guys seen this before?
No,
Yes.
I don't think I'd ever seen this episode.
Every time I watch Planet of the Apes, this is all I can think of. When they say Dr. Zaius, I just hear Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. But yeah, this is just a fun thing that I always think of when I think of Planet of the Apes. So now, Devin, welcome to the club.
I've had that Dr. Zaya song stuck in my head since I heard it, so thank you.
Dr. Zaius.
You mean Amadeus? Like that?
Whatever, Amadeus.
That's all it is.
No,
It's Amadeus. Rock me Amadeus.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Phil Hartman. Like, that's what I think. That's like the first episode that they
him.
I think that's like the first episode where they focused on Troy McClure too. Like, it's a good one.
He's such a good character too.
Mhm.
Like, I really like him.
Yeah. Yeah. Simpsons is like, people talk about the Simpsons going downhill. Like, Simpsons definitely changed a lot once they lost Phil Hartman and Troy McClure. So,
I can see that.
you may recognize him from such films as, but that's all I've got for Planet of the Apes. Whose pick is it next week?
I think it's Ryan's.
Ryan, what are you having us watch next
So
week?
it is the start of summer, meaning that people are going on vacations and they're doing what Devin does, and he goes to resorts. So I am picking a movie that is in that spirit, and it is the 2008 movie The Ruins. It's on Pluto for Alan and I. Devin, I have no idea where it is for you, but it's called The
Don't even know
Ruins.
what Pluto is. This looks incredible.
I'm going to apologize to one of you now. Alan, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
No, I'm on board. I'm gonna like this a lot.
I'm not saying that because I think Alan's not going to like it. I'm saying that because it's what I've been keeping in my back pocket for a while.
Oh, it has the lady from the Hunger Games in it. That's cool. All right, I'm on board.
All right. So join us
Yeah.
next week for the Ruins. You can listen to You Have to Watch This podcast on all major podcasting platforms. I will be updating the feed here soon. At the end of the school year, things have just gotten away from me, so we'll be updating that on a regular basis here from here on out. Just give us a week to get everything caught up because we have about a week's worth of episodes per day to get out there. But until next time, you can subscribe on our YouTube channel to go back and watch everything if you've missed a few weeks. Until next time, for You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
I love you, Dr. Zayas.
See you next week.